Hope everybody got warmed up. And now we're ready to start. So it's good to see everyone. Welcome to V-GovCon Live with Varetta Huggins. And this is your one-stop shop for expert advice in government contracting. If you're a small business and you're here and you're trying to figure out how do I get into government contracting and you're still working on setting up your small business, we can provide some of that guidance that you need to be able to get you where you're setting up your employer identification number, getting your DUNS number, all the things you need to do to be able to get into government contracting. If you're already a government contractor, you've got that cage code and you need advice, guidance, hand-holding to be able to go after government contracts. This is your one-stop shop. So here we are to provide expert advice to you to help you to navigate government contracting. If you heard my story before, not easy in government contracting. There's all these different things you have to know. And if you're very new to government contracting, it can be overwhelming. There are different databases your company has to be in. You've got to have a capability statement. And there's all these things you have to get ready to be able to go after government contracting. So the services we provide are more on how do you navigate government contracting? What are things you need to know now for when you get that government contract? How do you even go after government contracting? For those of you who are nonprofits, there's all this money out there for you, and all you have to do is apply for it based on what services that you're providing to your community. How do you go after these opportunities in terms of grants? Where do you find them? What's the application process? Are you eligible? These are all these things that if you're a nonprofit and you're trying to help your community, there's money out there in government for you. Free money. You just have to qualify and you just have to apply. And that's where we come in. If you need help with that, we can provide those services for you. If you are already a government contractor, but you're like, still don't have that contract, my recommendation is you start with subcontracting, and that's where your company become a subcontractor with another company that's already have that contract. And if you've heard my story, I talk about when you're ready for that, use your resume. Your resume tells what services you can provide, and if you're using your resume, it's just like you're applying for another job. You go find the opportunity, find the job, and let them know you want to do a corp to corp, which means you're using your company and they will pay your company for the services you're providing. Why? Because there's something in government contracting called past performance. You need past performance as a company to do government contracting. Some of you who are partners with us, we've given you partnership opportunities. One of the things when you're looking at these government opportunities, if you don't meet that past performance requirement, you can't bid on it. So use yourself. If you're the CEO and it's a one-man shop, I call it your chief everything officer. And I can tell you, I've been there. I know what it is. You're doing everything in that company. You can use yourself to work with the government, and you're the one providing those services. And in doing so, you are gaining past performance for your company. And past performance in government contracting is gold, okay? So make sure that's something that you're gaining for your company. So again, everyone, welcome to V-GovCon Live with Varetta Huggins. I'm so glad that you're able to take this time out of your Tuesday to be here with us. We meet once every fourth Tuesday of the month. And It's all about you. We're providing the content to you. We're giving you information you need to be successful in your small business and then also in government contracting in your nonprofit. Okay. And tonight we have a packed time with you tonight. So want to start moving into that. Let me just make sure I've got everything recorded. Sorry, we're live on YouTube. I just forgot to turn the recording on. All right, so let's start. So tonight, new thing that we're launching, it's called business-coach.v-pmc.com. So that's a new website. Go there. There are tons of free things I'm offering to you at that website. You've got training material you can get access to. You've got a new book that you can download and gain some information on how to go after those leads, turn them into transactions, and then that can help increase your revenue with your company. And it doesn't matter what type of business you're in. So this business coach is not geared to government contracting. It's something totally different. It's any business we can help with this type of business coaching. And this is more on the financial side, just helping you understand how your company works, how are you getting those leads, how are you turning those leads, you're converting those leads, some of the things you need to do from a marketing standpoint. And again, doesn't matter what you're in, what type of industry you're in, we can help you with this. And we use a tool, a software that helps us look at, based on asking you some question, help us look at some information from your company and be able to help show you some of the sales and ways you can increase your sales and bottom line, increase your revenue. So again, go to that website, find some great information. There's lots of training. So a lot of things here are training on marketing, and they don't teach some of this in college. So these are information that you're gonna need as a business owner. So feel free, I'll show this slide again at the end so that you, for those who are joining us late, will have that information. But tonight, what I have for you is, our topic tonight is based on what we're calling creative pricing. And for this, we're introducing Graeme Huggins, who is our price proposal expert. And for us, Graeme has been working with V-PMC since we started. He started doing our accounting when the company started, and from there, he started doing our pricing for government contracting. So Graeme has worked with us. His knowledge has increased drastically, because not only did he start working with us, but now he started working with other small businesses in the DC metro area. And then he expanded out across the US, helping small businesses in their accounting services. So he's providing accounting, he's providing bookkeeping. He also helped with taxes. And I can tell you that's one of the things that keep me up at night. And it's not my expertise. My expertise is in IT project management. So when I have to think about all these numbers, I just pick up the phone or go see him and call Graeme. And I can tell you, it's been a blessing just having him help V-PMC with all our financial needs. The other part of what Graeme does is he has helped us with a lot of the BPA, or what we call IDIQ. It's the government contracting vehicles. And those are the ones where you've got to come up with pricing. I remember one case, we came up with pricing for 76 different labor categories. Another one, it was over 100 different labor categories. And I just love working with him. He does these research. He finds stuff that I didn't even know existed. He can go find in your industry, find your competitors' prices, provide those to you and help you come up with what your prices look like. So I can tell you he's been doing this since he's working with me, but in accounting, he's been doing accounting for over 20 years. And it's just amazing to see all the expertise he has. If you know anything about accounting, you've heard of companies like Arthur Andersen and Ernst & Young. Graeme has worked with them. He's worked with what we call the big four accounting firms. And his expertise has been in price proposal, invoicing support. So think if you get a contract and you now have to do invoices every month, Graeme does that for several small and medium businesses. I can tell you the ending of the month and the beginning of the month is his busy time because he's got all these different companies and he's trying to get their invoicing and all the budgeting and everything done for those small businesses. He also does taxes. So tax season, we don't see him much because he's off getting all this work done during tax season. And again, he provides a lot of different financial services support. So he is an expert in pricing proposal. That's what the focus is for tonight. And I'm so glad to have Graeme Huggins with us tonight. So thank you, Graeme, and welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So Graeme, we're gonna start, and if any of you haven't been to our V-GovCon Live before, it's an interview style where I get different guest speakers and we're asking them different topics in their industry. So Graeme, what is the hottest topic in your industry right now?
Well, the hottest topic other than COVID, it's government contracting having a competitive price proposal. That's one of the hottest topic. Your price have to be competitive, but you don't want to be on the bidder, so you want to have a competitive price. When you submit a price a proposal, you want to have a competitive price.
Okay, so what are 3 challenges for government contractors to have that competitive price proposal? What are 3 challenges you're seeing?
Great question. 3 challenges. Well, knowing in price proposal or your pricing or anything, you got to know how your cost buildup is going to look like. And when I say cost buildup, it's all the intricate parts that goes into your cost buildup that gets you to your final point. The second one, determining your future costs. What should be included in your future costs. As a new business coming up, you can say, okay, what are future costs? Some of the future costs that we talk about is you as an individual, when you're setting up your company, you kind of, you mapped it out. I am the CEO, I'm gonna need these people, and so on and so forth. So you just want to know what your future cost is gonna look like. Thirdly, recording your time spent on getting your goods or services to your clients is very important to capture everything. You don't necessarily, sometimes you're the only one in the business, you don't necessarily pay yourself, but you still have to track the cost. What's your worth? What's your value? What's your per hour time? And you have to quantify that in terms of dollars and cents, but it's not necessarily shown. So you need to track that. So those are the 3 things: knowing what to do, knowing what to be in your cost builder, your future costs, and recording your time spent.
Okay, Brittany, you had a question, Brittany?
No, that was early. I was trying to let you know that there was something in the chat, but you see it.
Yep, thanks. All right. Thank you. So how is Great Advice? So Graeme is the Chief Executive Officer of Great Advice, and that's the company that he owns and is doing business under. So the question I have is, how is Great Advice poised to solve these challenges within your industry?
Well, within wherever is we have three buckets. We got bookkeeping, accounting, and prices and pricing. When we talk about bookkeeping, we talk about time reported. It's a very, very important part of your price is bookkeeping and having recording your time. It might just be USF, so you have to be documenting your time because that's part of your intellectual property. The second thing is record keeping. As somebody who have goods and services, you might have machinery that you buy to produce your goods. For the most part, most people want expensive, but as a business, that's an asset for you. So that go on the other side of the balance sheet. So that's one of your capital assets. The little raw materials that you use, especially if you're producing a good, that goes into your expense part, that you record some of your cost of goods sold or your direct costs. Then you move from your bookkeeping to your accounting. Within the accounting, when you're setting up your books, you're gonna have your fringe costs, your overheads, and your G&A. All your fringe costs is, everybody know you're gonna have your FICA costs. But as a government contractor or any other business, you're gonna have employees that's gonna get vacation time. So you have to factor in some of the vacation time. Then you have to factor in jury duty, everything that employee will get, 401k, you're matching. All these things have to be added into your fringe costs. Employee morale, training, and various benefits that is captured within the cost. Overhead, your overhead costs is generally the costs associated with doing work on the contract, but not billable. Those are stuff like, like back office work, some of the office expenses. You're gonna throw on your overhead, because those prices come as a part of your analysis in your price. Last, we got the G&A expenses. And that's for the C-suite people, the CEO, those people who are not in the contract, the EPA, the program analysts, those people who sit in the office, you got to capture their costs as part of your G&A expenses. When you have all that in place and you have all that documented, you come to the piece we call the pricing. And when you got the direct costs, the fringe costs, the overhead, the G&A, and your profit, and how you get to your fully burdened rate. So when we're talking about direct costs or direct labor is everybody who is working on the contract, the billable folks. Everything, the raw materials, whatever they're using on the contract, those need to be documented properly. And let's kind of jump back to bookkeeping. When they're working on the contract, the time of material or fixed price, you need to be able to document the time in the different brackets. Direct costs or the direct labor. Benefits. Benefits generally is about 42% of your direct labor, which can add in the FICA and all the other stuff that go along with it. Time off, government holidays, national holidays, those are factoring into the benefits cost. Almost kind of fixed, but I think it's about 42.78% of direct labor. Your overhead costs. Your overhead costs is direct labor plus benefits times the overhead percentage, and those percentages come from your accounting. When you put them into the buckets. G&A, how do you get to G&A? I think you kind of follow the thought here. It's direct labor plus benefits plus overhead, and whatever the G&A percentage you get from your accounting or your books. And once everything is properly labeled, you generally come up with a good percentage. And then we talk about profit. Profit is direct labor plus benefits plus overhead plus G&A, and whatever your profit level that you decided. And generally, profit level is generally 3 to 10%. And when you add your direct labor, your benefits, your overhead, your G&A, plus your profits, you get to your fully burdened rate. And that's the rate that you use in terms of billing your services. But
Awesome. So you talk about having an accounting, and you talk about where with the accounting, you've got fringe overhead and G&A costs. So we've got lots of CEOs on our call today. How should they be able to track some of that right now if they do not have any government contracts yet?
that's a great question. Remember earlier when you asked about three of the challenges, and that's the future cost. You don't know exactly, you know what business you're in, but you have not had an employee or a contractor working in that position for you to come up with whatever that cost is, so it would not be booked within your books. And that's where someone like me come in. I go ahead and do the research for all these labor categories that would affect that particular business. And we use those numbers, and where the Vice has formulated over a period of years how to come up with that price for that particular labor category. So if you never had anything, we will help you to gather all these things by some of the research we have done. And you might be here sitting there, you might be similar to a client that already worked on. So we have something already in place that we just hash out for you, so you can be able to bid on a contract.
Awesome. So I have a couple of questions that I'm gonna field that they added to the to the sign up. So the first one is from Zarina, and Zarina is she's in Colorado. Her question is this possible to start up small business with excellent prices and services to get federal contracts? So is it possible for a startup business with excellent prices and service to get federal contracts?
Well, for the most part, if you have, whether you could chime in on this, you should have a sort of contracting vehicle with different out of various federal agencies. And one of the things they normally ask for is, do you have past performance? I think Varetta mentioned that you got to start in the subcontractor realm. So you might have the expertise, you yourself, and you get on somebody else's contract working for the government, and you perform that task in that particular area, so you can get past performance from it. Because that's where you got to start. You're not going to start playing right off the bat. But having excellent prices, yes. But the experience or the past performance is very, very, very important and to have. And normally you do it at the subcontract level.
Yeah, so my recommendation would also be that if you're starting out in terms of, and you've got your pricing already figured out, to get into government contracting, yeah, I talked about subcontracting before. And yes, that's really how you get into government contracting. You'll work with someone who already have a contract and be able to do subcontracting with them. Graeme, I have another question from Claudius Jetton in Nashville, Tennessee. And question is, how do you price construction jobs? Is there a way you guys use if you're looking at being able to price construction jobs?
Yep. Not knowing what type of construction, but normally it entails a lot of equipment. And if you're building a high rise or whatever the case may be, you got to transport your equipment from where you have it to the construction site. So you're going to have a lot of transportation costs. You're going to have a lot of usage of your equipment. Then depends on where it is, you might have fencing. You're going to have environmental costs, both for setting up and cleaning up. I remember we were working on, I know it's in the news right now, we were working on a contract in terms of Afghanistan. And they were supposed to do some base cleanup. And some of the things that the US government asked them for was certain certification and what's not, but also what your process is going to look like when you have to clean up someplace, transport it, and blow it up, and perform within the green energy space. So all the costs has to be added in, both the labor, the materials, the transportation, and all certification that you have to pay for to get your job done. So anything to get you to market, or anything that you do in the construction realm that has a cost on it, except for you buying a new truck, is included in your cost.
Awesome. I have a question here from Michael Jacobs. Michael is in Massachusetts. How do I attract more client interest when there's a resistance to pay me?
Run the question again.
How do I attract more client interest when there's resistance to pay me?
Resistance to pay you. Well, if you engage with somebody in a contract, I mean, I know we as a company, V-PMC, have gotten burned that we did a proposal delivered to the person, and we were waiting on payment and we never got paid. So you as an individual, if you're going to engage in business with someone, make sure you have a retainer of, up to 50% to get you started before you get started, before you stroke, and then you work on it non-delivery. They should pay you the other 50%, or you could just say, hey, on delivery, you're going to have to pay the additional 50%, because sometimes contract get extended for delivery, but you still have to get paid for your services. So once you deliver to them, whenever they're submitted, it's all well and good. But for you, you gotta make sure as a company and get your payments, because you have employees to pay who perform these jobs. So return is a big deal.
Okay. Regina Newberry wants to know, and she's out of Redford, is that is that Missouri?
Michigan.
Michigan, sorry. What is the best way to approach government pricing for beginners? And how do we verify our price is at market value?
That's a great question. I think somebody asked that earlier. If you don't have any prices, it might just be a plug here. That's something that we at Great Advice do. We already have a handle on the market in terms of the various labor categories, but we could look on labor sites or other companies in the same realm as your competitors and see what their prices look like. So anybody can get the price proposal done based on the labor categories, based on them and the market share and the demographic of that area.
Okay, I think I'll leave that now and then continue with what we're doing. So I can tell you with pricing, you talked with the price proposal aspect of it, you talked about making sure that you're able to take the accounting piece, which is your fringe overhead and G&A, and now you can use that history that you have in your bookkeeping, meaning if you're using, like we use an accounting system, QuickBooks, and we're looking at upgrading that soon. But with that, we're able to get a history of all the stuff we've already paid for in the past. And now we have costs that we know how much is HR if we're paying for different human resource software. So we have an idea of what our G&A costs are already. And so the work for us is the direct costs, trying to figure that out and being able to come up with what the direct costs will be for the services that we do. We have an audience here, and we've got people in real estate, people providing janitorial services, people providing art services, IT services, so a broad spectrum. What would be your advice, Graeme, on when it comes to direct costs? Where should they go to find out what should those costs look like?
Oh, well, direct costs, and it's kind of literal. It would be your direct labor, those people who are working on the contract. Okay, somebody asked a question, if I don't have anybody, I'll never work in that realm. Then the research is done to see what the market is paying. A program manager, or a program analyst, or an engineer, or whatever the case may be. The market kind of dictate that way. And once you get your direct costs, everything sort of adds up off of direct costs. And then the C-suite people, that's you and whoever you have. I mean, you got the direct labor, direct consultants or direct independent consultants, direct contractors, direct materials, everything that you have to do to work on that contract. So, we go on the Algo's internet and we do the research. And some people, one of the things that people kind of hesitant to say, hey, my price is too high. And we got a little small story. There was an engineer working on a ship. They're calling several people to work on the ship to get assessment and what's not. They couldn't find anybody to do it. So this one engineer came in. There was a part needed. He cost about $350. He spent about a half an hour on the job. And the job was $8,500. They said, well, you only spent a half an hour. Well, normally when you have prices, people think that because you spend a half an hour on a job, that it should be priced, fairly low. But what they are paying for, probably haven't seen, is your 20 years of experience. They're guiding you to come there, tap it with a hammer, and fix it in a half an hour. So your intellectual property was $8,000. The part cost $5,000. So your price is almost never too high. But guess what? When you propose a price and you're good at what you do, they're gonna ask you for a discount. And this is where you make your concessions. But don't ever shortchange your price when you're proposing it. Because people is not just paying for that particular thing, they're paying for all the years, the sweat equity and everything you have went through to get you to that point.
And that was great advice, Graeme, because a lot of my customers who come to me, had one guy that found a video of me on YouTube and he came to me, he's like, Varetta, I saw your video on pricing. No one is talking about this stuff out there. And he came to me for guidance on how to price his work. And his big thing was he was underpricing his work. And I see that a lot in small businesses. You think that, you know what, dealing with the government, I gotta go in really, really low. I just wanna get the contract. You know how much your time is worth. So I need you, when you're doing your pricing, to know the worth of your time and put a price to it. Now, the discounting comes after that. So don't going and like, this is my price and it's really, really low. Figure out what your real price is. And so when Graeme talks about getting that to that fully burdened rate, that's the price you're giving to anybody. Don't give them, I see a lot where you're giving the customer you a direct cost price. Like, this is the price, and it's not including your fringe, your overhead, your G&A, and your profit. You're giving them the direct price, and then you're realizing, oh man, that's really low, and now you want to ask for more money on top of that, but you're afraid to do so. Now, if you calculated your fully burdened rate, you wouldn't fall into that problem. because during that you would have realized that yes, you might have, you might feel uncomfortable with your fully burn rate, but know that you've got profit included in that. And now you could say, hey, I can offer you a discount for this time period, and know that every year you should be escalating whatever that price is. I see a lot where I see small businesses who's got the same price for 2-3 years, and they don't know how to ask for an increase. I will tell you, the government expects you to give them an escalation rate every single year. So think about that and make sure that you're including that. All right, so moving on. So with that, Graeme, I thought this was excellent content. So who are your main target clients and why should they care about this?
Yeah, before I answer the question, I saw something there. Somebody mentioned, how do you get to be a sub? Somebody just put it up.
Okay.
And if that person is, if you're currently working for somebody, you're probably working as an employee or independent contractor. So how do you become a sub? When you go for your next job or your next opportunity, tell that company, the client, that you want to be a 1099 and you want to be paid corp to corp for that particular service.
Yep.
And that's how you become a sub on a contract. You might not be a named sub, but you'll be a subcontractor on the work, so you could get past performance from them for the work you've done on that contract. So, and then you work your way up of becoming a named sub based on some of your past experiences. And so some of our main contracts, and for the most part, is very small businesses and government contractors. And for the most part, is the company, like I would be your chief accounting officer that would have all your financials ready. If you have anybody who have to do any financial reporting, you got to get your compilation statements, financial statement, you got to get your tax return filed, and then you have to get whatever quarterly reports that need to be done. So you want to have those things ready and available for whenever you're on a bid, because sometimes that's some of the information that's needed. Just lastly, I mean, when during COVID or when some of the EIDL money was going on, you have to have your financials. And some people, as I would say, had it in the shoebox. I'm gonna get to the end of the year. And they were almost late. Some people never made it to capitalize on some of the money that the government was offering, either from a PPP or EIDL disaster loan. And because they didn't have the tax returns done and the financials, and those are things that would be crucial because you don't know when you need them. Or if you're going for a line of credit, they can ask for your financial, you need it from a third party in a small business. You're gonna need that financial. But they don't want all the glory details of, what rent was and what's not. Just want to know where your overheads, your direct, your fringe, and you kind of name them on what your profit is, and then watch your net worth, what's the equity within that company. So small businesses don't generally think that way. I'm just gonna grab all my stuff and give it to an accountant and say, go ahead with my tax return. Okay, whenever you're ready to file it, file it. You own your business, you have to own your business by having your tentacles and all your information at hand ready to file with whatever quarterly or price proposal that you would need. So, but yes, go ahead.
I agree, and I can tell you that some of the folks that reached out to me last year when COVID hit, and they started to figure out that they needed to get some of that PPP money or EIDL money, and the SBA was asking for some documents, and they're like, I don't have that. And some of these were regular documents. They needed your P&L, your profit and loss statement. They needed your balance sheet. And in some cases, they needed to know that you file your taxes. So these are things that are critical to you as a small business. You don't even need to be a government contractor for this. If you're a small business, you cannot get away from accounting. You have to have your books in place. And if you're going after a loan, if you're going after money, if you're going after government contracting, they're going to ask for your financial statements, and you have to have these in place. Some of you who've been through some of our program, when I tell you that when you go into to get your cage code and you go into SAM.gov, IRS.gov is linked to SAM.gov. So they check to verify that your taxes for your company are done. So again, you can't get away from accounting if you own a business. This is something that's needed. Next question I have for you, Graeme, is what are the key differentiators between you and other organizations serving similar needs?
Key. Well, we be your CAO. We be your assistant CFO. We come alongside you to help you with all your information that necessary, as I just mentioned before, at hand and ready. So if you need something, you call us at Great Advice. And if you're a client of ours, we will have the information for you, ready and available for whatever you need it for. Because some things, when you have it, you might need detail, and something you just need condense. You don't want to give, say if you're going for a loan or line of credit, you don't want to give them a detail of your balance sheet or the detail of your P&L. You have it in buckets. You say, Miko, you have it here, overhead, benefits and what's that, you have them in buckets. Because with that, a lot of questions come, and then you're gonna have to go explain all this different stuff. And if you're paying your accountant by the hour, or if you don't have a package deal with that accountant, you'll be paying more money to your accountant just for him to produce reports that might just be mundane to the process. Giving you more information than you need. So we kind of be like your back office kind of set, your accounting office, to help you through the mundane tax returns and what's not. And right if we add something here is most of us, most of you guys here probably just starting out. So you have your personal return attached with your company's return. I assume you have the 1040 Schedule C, and you have the business profit and loss on it. Well, you build this company, you have your baby, it's grown up. You need to move out. When the baby moves out, that means it's a corporation onto itself. So it needs its own tax return. They say, okay, how do we get here? Now we're talking about price, but everything's come back to this. It's the end point when you're filing the taxes. We got this thing what we call an S corp. You have your company, you make an S election, and you create this S corp of whatever Inc. or LLC. When that's done, you get a thing what we call a K1 that flows into your 1040. Okay, the reason why I'm saying this, sometimes when you're doing Schedule C, you make a profit, you're paying self-employment tax. You can't claim that. You might get 5% in the deduction. I think it's 10% it is. So you avoid some of these self-employment tax. Remember, if you elect to be an S corp, it's not taxed. There's no double taxation. It's taxed at the individual level, at your tax rate. And if you get income, if you have other companies happening, you get, if you got, 1099s and all that other stuff coming in, and you make a loss in the company, it reduces your taxable income, and there's qualified business income and stuff like that. But that's another story for another day.
All right, I've got a question here from Crystal Robinson in Chicago. She's asking, I would like assistance with pricing my cheesecakes. She owns Slices from My Heart gourmet cheesecakes.
That's a great question. The way you do, you will call Varetta, set up a discovery call, and we could discuss it over some cheesecake.
All right, so now I'm gonna open it up to anyone who wants to, so these were questions that came in once you signed up. So if you didn't hear your question and you feel like you've got a question that you would like to ask Graeme or myself, the process we're gonna use is just unmute, let me know that you wanna ask a question, and then I'll call on you. If we got more than one person, I'll choose which one will ask the question. I'm opening it up now. Any questions, anyone?
Hey, Varetta, there's a few in the chat.
Okay, can you read them out? Brittany?
Yes, let me just go to them. 1 second.
And just say who's asking. And again, if you want to ask us your question, feel free to unmute and just let us know you have a question.
Okay, the first one I see says Dwayne's iPhone. What happens if you offer a proposal and for whatever reason the price goes up after approval of the bid? What can be done?
Price goes up. Yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm not sure when he said the price goes up. I mean, if he got goods and services and he proposed something, and because of inflation it goes up, well, when you propose a price, it can't get any higher unless when you send your proposal in and there's an amendment, you know, there might be kickback and then you can change your prices. But once your proposal is already delivered, it's delivered. The only thing that can happen to it, price can go down because of a discount, but there's no appreciation in prices once it's already been proposed. And that's why when you're doing your price proposal, you got to factor in all these different things, inflation and all the other stuff that would happen. So when you reach that point, we were about to do an engagement with another subcontractor, and they had to submit their prices, and their prices were so low that we couldn't work with them because we know the government or the client would be asking for a discount. That just standard operational procedures, but there's no appreciation in price that's already been proposed.
So my answer to that, Dwayne, will be, so Graeme is correct with that. After, if you win, so let's say you submit your prices and it sounds more like it might be materials that are changing the price. So let's say you send in a price for technology and it could be computers, license, that kind of thing. And then after the government took 2-3 months to respond, and during that time, the prices went up. It will be after you get the contract. So there'll be a kickoff period, bring that up during the kickoff period, and then you can negotiate that different rate. If you already was awarded the contract, you already start doing the work, again, bring that up during whenever time that you found that the prices went up, bring that up to your contracting officer. And during that negotiation, if everything is approved, your price can go up, but it will come from a mod to your contract. So that's called a mod or a modification. And that's the way that will come in. But that was a great question. Any other questions, Bree?
Yes, so I see one more from, and if I pronounce your name incorrectly, I apologize. Solange, what is the best way to reach out to become a subcontractor?
I
think Graeme already answered that question, right?
Yeah, is when you're about to work with a client, one of the questions you ask is, can we do a corp to corp? I mean, you rather than getting W-2, you would get a 1099 at the end of the year with your company information on it, if it is set up that way. If not, it would just come as a 1099 in your name, if that's the way you're doing business. But that's how you become a subcontractor. But if you have a business, it's good to have that agreement done in the company's name, so you can get that 1099 NEC.
Any other questions, Bri?
I do see one more from R. Nicole Sharp. If subcontract on GovCon opportunities are you able to assist with getting the bookkeeping and accounting to follow up DCAA guidelines?
That's a great question. Yes, but you could call Varetta and set up a discovery call to see where you're at and how it could get you to the point where you need to be.
Okay, well, that's another question. And I know I had some others that came in through the questions. We're offering a V-GovCon CEO accounting package. And what that is everything that Graeme talked about today. We're putting in a big package for you for 12 months. And you start out with an accounting strategy session with us, and we'll go through understanding where your books are, what do you need assistance with, where you are in your company. So if you want to go after government contracting, there's going to be some accounting things that you have to get set up. And so we'll ask you those GovCon questions. We're all going to also ask you your company questions, as in your small business, just general accounting stuff that is from a company perspective that you need to do. Some of you might come to us and you're like not interested in government contracting at all. This still incorporates that. So it's next, after the initial session, you're gonna have monthly meetings with Graeme. And I could tell you sometimes on a Saturday or Sunday, he's getting calls from all his small businesses, and sometimes they're asking him one question, but they needed to get him on the phone just to ask him that one question. And so that's what the monthly CEO accounting sessions, he'll have, whether it be a phone conversation, he might do an actual meeting with you where there might be different bookkeeping and accounting stuff that you're going through and you need his advice, or you need him to create a report or anything in terms of the accounting that you need. He can provide that during that monthly CEO accounting session. If you're at the part where you need to price your services, and this will be kind of like, and again, it could be you're pricing your services for your current client and you need to reevaluate those. So those will be what we're calling our price proposal sessions. And it could be GovCon or non-GovCon, meaning you've got commercial clients already, you think you got your prices under what it's supposed to be. So we'll have a session, and those we could do monthly. Also, if you have that session with us first, we figure that out, and then you want to evaluate your prices going forward. And the price proposal sessions also include, if you're doing government contracting and you want to go after government contracts and you find opportunities and you're ready to submit your proposal, but you need the pricing, that will also include that work where we'll meet with you, we'll go through what are the requirements for that opportunity, and then be able to come up with a price proposal for you. We've got templates in place that we're already using, and that's what we'll be able to use for you for that. So this whole package, again, 12 months, will total about $19,000. But what we've done, I've spoken with Graeme, and just for this audience, we've reduced it to $349 a month. Or for the whole, if you want to pay one time, we're looking at $3,490 for 12 months. I will put the link in the chat, but you will get an email 30 minutes after the session tonight. And in that email will be a link to the V-GovCon page, and we'll have it there. If you already had the V-GovCon page from the last time you meet, then there'll be an offer link there. You can just click on that and it'll take you to this new offer. So again, it's called the V-GovCon CEO Accounting Package. And with this, you're working directly with Graeme. I'll be on some of the sessions that mainly has to do with government contracting. But once you make that payment, we'll start your sessions. Now, this offer expires the ending of this month. which we're giving you a whole week. So it ends Tuesday next week on the 31st. So again, $349. And I think this is a great package. He works with a lot of other small businesses and medium-sized businesses. And I can tell you the work that he does on a monthly basis. We check that out with other companies and it's way more than that. So that's definitely a steal. And here again, if you missed this, because I wasn't sharing, sorry about that. Here you go again with the business coach information. And let me find the page that I want to give you where the offer is. And I'll put that in the link. I'll put that in the chat right here so that you can have that. So I'm including that just got included in the chat. So with that, again, business-coach.v-pmc.com. I've got tons of training material on here from a business perspective. If you want information on how to grow your business revenue, that's another tool set that I'm providing to you. So our next event, our next V-GovCon Live is going to be Tuesday, September 28th, and we're going to be having a subcontractor panel. So we've selected several of the customers that we work with and partners, and they're going to be on as a panel, and they'll be giving you tips about being a government contracting subcontractor. So sign up for that. It will be the same link that you had to sign up for this event. And again, you'll get another reminder about 30 minutes from now for you to get to that page. But again, thank you all. And please sign up for our next event where we're going to be providing you tips to being a government contracting subcontractor. And again, we'll have a panel of experts of those who have been subcontractors on different contracts. I hope this was information that you can use, content. We'll be able to put out the video in probably in several days. I'm not sure if we'll get it done by Friday, but we'll just check the page. We'll have it ready for you whenever it's ready. Thanks, everyone. Any more questions? Any more questions before we sign off? Well, I just want to thank everyone for signing in and thank our expert, price proposal expert, Graeme Huggins, for joining us tonight and being our guest speaker. And again, thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night. And thank you for all your questions. Thanks, Regina. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Bree, for being able to ask those questions too.
You're welcome, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.